Why the tragedy? Why? It wasn't a stampede, folks.
Folks, as you know, social media censorship is growing. The best way to support our video work for Israel is to subscribe to our video newsletter on pulseofisrael.com and to share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, then thank you. 2 additional ways to connect with and support Israel, they are so simple. 1, click on this link to help us strengthen Israel by strengthening Judea and Samaria. It's simple, everybody. Just click on the website and choose the best option that works for you to strengthen Judea and Samaria. And number 2, enjoy the beauty of Israel whenever you want. No matter where you are in the world, you can enjoy our online virtual tours of Israel. Just visit israelisbeautiful.com and choose the virtual video and activity package that works for you.
Shalom, shalom, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Pulse of Israel. This is Avi Abelo speaking to you from the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem. Now, there's a lot going on in the news cycle, in the Israel news cycle specifically. There have been more terror attacks the past couple of days. Politics, what's going on with the Israeli government. And usually I'd be talking to you about all these different things. But my heart and mind is still very much focused on the tragedy that happened on Lag BaOmer at Meron with the 45 innocent souls who were crushed to death, unfortunately. As many of you know, my sister's nephew, Donnie Morris, Nachman Daniel ben Aryeh Tzvi, was one of the 45 who were killed that evening, 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's a personal connection in addition to the regular tragedy and national trauma that basically much of the Jewish people or much of the state of Israel are going through. Friday was a day we were just focused on trying to find him, trying to find Donnie, because word was that he was missing. So my sister was running around from hospital to hospital all over the country up north trying to find him. And it wasn't, and we knew about the tragedy. I was actually up at 1:30 a.m. Thursday night when the news started coming in that there was a tragedy taking place at Meron. If I remember correctly, the first news reports were that like a stage fell or something fell and that a lot of people were injured. And we went to sleep with that news report. Obviously very sad, but no details yet. I mean, there were details that some deaths were coming in, but no details to the extent of what the tragedy was, to which we woke up in the morning hearing about what happened. And again, when we woke up, then we heard that my sister's nephew, Donnie Morris, was Zechron Varcha, was missing. And all day Friday was spent trying to find him. It was going into Shabbat, only minutes before Shabbat, that it was confirmed that he was one of the dead from the tragedy. It wasn't until, I guess, Motzei Shabbat that I started looking into what happened. Just going through the news reports, going through the videos, trying to figure out what in the world happened. And again, it's tragic on a number of levels. The first level is obviously the loss of these 45 souls, seamlessly for no reason. Another level of tragedy is here, the holiday of Lag BaOmer, is where the Jewish people all over the world are focused on celebrating the end of a historic event when 24,000 Jews died, right? 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva back in the days of the Talmud, Roman times, 2,000 years ago, argument of the rabbis, whether they died from a pandemic or whether they died fighting the Romans, because Rabbi Akiva was a staunch supporter of Bar Kokhba, the rebellion against the Roman Empire. So it could be that his 24,000 students died fighting the Romans, right? In any case, Lag BaOmer was the day we celebrate the end to the death of Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students. And here, Lag BaOmer, that day then turns into a day when we're now mourning the death of 45 innocent souls. So, numbered level of tragedies. I just had to dive deep into trying to figure out what was going on. I'm going to do another video focused on what happened because I've come up with a lot of information. Some of the information is out there, but not everyone's putting it all together. I'm going to put it all together for you. I'm not ready yet. And you can see it's already Tuesday, right? It's Tuesday. This is something that happened Thursday night, Friday. I'm still very much involved. I'm still very much involved with this, and still I have to talk about it. So there are a couple of things that I really wanted to talk about and get off my chest. Things that very much, whether they bother me or they're bothering with me and stopping me from moving forward. And again, you know me. You know that I'm a believer in moving forward, in understanding the message I put out there. Yes, we have to compartmentalize the sadness of whatever tragedies or sad things that happen in our lives and move forward and be productive, not forgetting the sadness, holding on to it, but moving forward. So, but part of the process is dealing with that sadness. So this is my way of trying to deal with this sadness so I can move forward, but I can't move forward without dealing with this. First of all, I've been reading a lot up and hearing a lot about the 45 people who lost their lives in this tragedy. And I must say, if you haven't read up or heard about these people, it is just unbelievable how special each and every one of them was. Not like the regular special, but like exceptionally special. Whether it's the adults, whether the teachers who lost their lives, whether it's the teenagers who lost their lives, whether it was the young children, even a 9-year-old who lost their life. And just to give you some examples, again, anyone who heard the eulogies, the Hespedim for Dani, 19-year-old, he was one of the best students, one of the best budding Talmidei Chachamim, who loved Torah, great midot, great attributes, great person. He was looked at as a budding Talmid Chacham, his love of learning Torah. He was just like one of the best, right, for his age group, for his peers. He was one of the best. That's a 19-year-old. Then you jump to a teacher, and you hear the stories of the teachers who lost their lives and the messages they gave over to their students. Not just a normal teacher who is dedicated to his students, but an exceptional teacher who's dedicated to his students. And then you hear about the student. I think it's the 9-year-old student who this teacher lost. This teacher brought up a 9-year-old student with him too. He brought his son and this 9-year-old student. Why did he bring up this 9-year-old student? It was a prize. It was a reward for something good that this student deserved. And that was his reward, to go up and celebrate Lag BaOmer together with his teacher, this exceptional teacher, exceptional student with an exceptional teacher. Again, I'm not God, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not going into the whys. That's not our role, it's not my role. But it is interesting to realize that on this very special holiday of Lag BaOmer, the 45 people who died were exceptional people. For whatever reason, with this tragedy happening, God took 45 of the best. Again, I have no way to explain why. I'm not here to explain why. It's not our role to explain why. I'm just putting my finger on the fact that, wow, I mean, losing any life is always sad, and every life is precious. But here there is something with the fact that all 45 were really exceptional and special. So that's the first note I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make was about the trauma. Focus on the trauma. The trauma, obviously, of the family, of Donnie's parents, of his grandparents, of his closest friends, obviously, the trauma of the inner circle for each and every one of these 45 souls is tremendous. Tremendous amount of trauma. But I want to explain to you the concentric circles of this trauma. It goes much further beyond that. And in a sense, you could say this is, wow, therefore many more concentric circles of trauma than in other tragedies. So I'm just going to give you, again, the example of Donnie Morris, but then this is one example of 45. So each one of these has multiple concentric circles. So I'm just going to start with the one example of Donnie. So Donnie was a one-year student studying here in Israel for the year from America. He has family here in Israel, but he came to study for the year, to study at Yeshivat Shalavim. Right? That's a yeshiva where his uncle studied, and I was there and studied with him. That's where I met his uncle, and his uncle is now married to my sister. That's the family connection. So first of all, you have the fact that he has friends who went with him. Each one of those friends is like, wait a second, why him? Why not me? Then it's not just the friends who went with him from his own yeshiva Torah study program, but there are a lot of one-year programs here in Israel, both boys' yeshiva programs and girls' seminary programs, and many of them sent up buses with students to celebrate, to take part in the celebrations on Meron and Lag BaOmer. And now, basically, and whether they knew Donnie personally or not, or knew of him or not, doesn't make a difference. They have this kinship with, wait a second, he's one of us. He's a one-year student here for the year. And we were here also. So why him and not me? So that's traumatic. That's a sense of trauma. But it goes even deeper than that, because you have the whole one-year GAP program students, whether they went to Meron or not. Still, this is a close connection to the tragedy of what happened. And for each and every one of them, it's like, wait a second, it could have been me, or it's one of us. And there's a level of trauma there. So you're already talking about concentric circles that go way beyond just immediate family or just immediate friends who were with him the night that it happened. Obviously, the level of trauma is different for each concentric circle as you get further away from the tragedy. But it's still a level of trauma. And each and every person in each and every one of these concentric circles, well, that trauma has to be dealt with professional help, with professional assistance. And here again, I'm just telling you, like, the concentric circles for one of the 45 who died in this tragedy. Each and every one of those 45 has his own world of concentric circles. And each and every one of the people in each and every one of the concentric circles for each and every one of the 45 people who tragically died that night, they all are going through a level of trauma that needs professional help to help them get through it. That's a lot of professionals. That's a lot of people to be looking out for. That's a lot of people for others to be thinking about, wait a second, does this person need professional help right now? Maybe they're going through their lives normally, But that doesn't mean they're not going through some level of trauma, that they still need assistance to get through that trauma. So it just blows my mind thinking about the amount of people who, I'm talking about this specific tragedy, who really, whether they know it or not, need some level of professional assistance to help them deal with their own personal trauma of this tragedy, the greatest civilian tragedy the state of Israel has ever gone through. So I just wanted to put all that out there because it's something that I'm worried about. I'm worried about all these people. You're not talking about tens of people. You're not talking about hundreds of people. You're talking about thousands of people. Thousands of people, whether they know it or not, are going through some level of trauma and who need professional assistance to help them get through the trauma, to compartmentalize the trauma they're going through so that they can continue on in life as productive citizens of humanity and not be held back because they never really properly and professionally dealt with the trauma that they're going through. The next point I wanted to bring up was the horrendous hatred that I'm seeing out there. There's a lot of hatred going on, specifically towards the ultra-Orthodox, and I am calling out individuals who are focusing on this hatred, because as my Pulse of Israel video yesterday focused upon, the unity within the Jewish people and the state of Israel is beautiful, and it doesn't get enough headlines. But even though this tragedy basically affected the religious and ultra-Orthodox community, because it's 45 people who are all men who died mostly from the ultra-Orthodox community, but some religious but not ultra-Orthodox, still the people of Israel came out in droves, regardless, religious, secular, didn't make a difference. The Jewish people and Arabs in Israel came out in droves in solidarity with the victims of this tragedy, with the 45 religious ultra-Orthodox victims. So overall, the feeling of unity within the state of Israel and within the Jewish people is strong. And yet, there are small pockets of hatred towards the ultra-Orthodox, and there are people blaming the ultra-Orthodox for what happened and saying they deserved it. That they deserved this tragedy. They deserved to lose these lives. Horrendous, disgusting, and I'm not just saying this. My video yesterday spoke about an Israeli publicist here in London who publicly said, "This is not my tragedy, they are not my people," and in response to me talking about that and focusing on the beauty of the unity of the Jewish people, giving the message I just gave before, while highlighting Meron London as an individual, and he's in the minority, voicing that, I received an email from someone in response to my video saying, "No, I agree with Meron London. It's not my tragedy. I'm not mourning. They're not my people." Disgusting. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. But they are a minority, right? They are a minority. But still, it is sick to see this minority vocal, spewing hatred towards, in this case, fellow Jews, just because they disagree with them and are angry at them for whatever reasons, whatever societal reasons, and it's disgusting. But again, the main reason these individuals are showing this hatred towards the religious, specifically the ultra-Orthodox Jews now, is because they are blaming, if it's their fault, there are too many people at the event. These are the stupid holidays that they celebrate, and they don't listen to the government, and they don't listen to police, etc., 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 right? They just spew these lies. Now, it could be some of their claims might be true about some ultra-Orthodox, but it's not true about them in general. Majority of the ultra-Orthodox in Israel are law-abiding citizens, tax-paying citizens. They listen to the police. Can it be that there are some who don't, and headlines are caused because of them? Yes, but majority are law-abiding citizens. And this event did not happen because of them. Might some of their leaders have to take some of the blame for organizing issues or whatever in terms of the event that led to this? Possibly. But the sickness of the hatred towards the whole community on the back of this tragedy where 45 innocent Jews, mostly ultra-Orthodox, but all religious, died, the hatred is disgusting. The major lesson for all of us is life is precious. We have no clue what the next second is going to bring. Whether it's a tragedy like this at a massive event, or whether it's not waking up in the morning, or whether it's waking up in the morning and crossing the street and being hit by a car. We never know when the end is coming, which means we have to take every moment in our lives as precious. Life is precious. Every moment in life is precious. Make the most out of it. Maximize every moment you have, because we don't know when the last moment will be. So my blessing to each and every one of you. Realize how blessed you are to be alive. Realize how blessed you are to have loved ones and friends in your life. Realize how blessed you are to have your health, or whatever state of health you have, that you are alive. And take that blessing and run with it and maximize your life, each and every one of those precious moments, as much as possible. Signing off from the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people, the city of Jerusalem, here in our ancestral and eternal homeland, the land of Israel. Thanks for watching, everyone. And just hold on to those blessings. And as I like to say, the biggest blessing of all is to know how blessed you truly are. Because so many people around us are just going through the motions of life, ignoring the fact of how blessed they are in everything they do have. So it's all about a gratitude. Shalom, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.